Welcome to the True Health Podcast. I'm your host, Michele Scarlett, board certified functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, business owner, and the woman other high performing women call when they're burnt out, stuck in survival mode, and ready to get back their life. If you've been told by your doctor that everything looks normal, but you know something's off, if your energy is tanking, your focus is scattered, and your body feels like it's working against you, if you're craving more capacity to lead, to scale, to show up fully in your business and for your family, this is the podcast you've been looking for. Every week, I bring you the real conversations doctors aren't having with you, from the truth about your hormones and metabolism to the deeper root causes stealing your energy. I'll share success stories from women who've completely turned things around and give you the tools and insights I use with my private clients. This season, I'm also sitting down with powerhouse women, CEOs, founders, and leaders who have made their health the foundation of their success. These are the conversations that change lives. So if you want real answers, more capacity, and the kind of results that ripple into every part of your life and business, you're in the right place.
Today's guest is someone who has helped thousands of women break free from emotional eating, binge cycles, and food addiction, not by preaching more discipline, but by guiding them through deep, lasting healing. Amber Romaniuk is an emotional eating expert and the host of the No Sugarcoating podcast. Her work goes far beyond surface level fixes. She helps women uncover the real, hidden roots of their behavior. What makes Amber's approach so powerful is that she's walked this path herself. After years of battling binge eating, gut imbalances, and hormonal chaos, she found real healing by supporting her nervous system, replenishing depleted minerals, and learning to feel her emotions instead of numbing them with food. In this conversation, we talk about why healing your nervous system and rewiring neural pathways that drive your habits is the missing link for so many women. It's the foundation for healing your body and repairing your relationship with food. It will also help you unlock the clarity, motivation, and emotional capacity you thought you had to force your way into. Let's dive in. Amber, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to have you. We're going to talk about a really important topic today. But first, I'd love to know a little bit about your story and how you became so passionate about helping women. Um, I'm going to use the words gain control of their habits and ultimately their life.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm super grateful to be here with you. And yeah, emotional eating, binge eating, the binge purge cycle, food addiction, these are all things that I went through and had to heal. And that's one of the things that drew me to be so passionate and inspired to want to help women all over the world struggling with this so they can take their power back with food in their
Yeah.
bodies and their lives. Because when you're in these behaviors, it has a significant impact on everything. And that is the honest truth. And we want you to like step into the woman you've always dreamed of being. And that includes breaking free of this as well. So I dealt with all of those things, like I said. And I think we all go through experiences growing up that really can shape our relationship with ourselves, our bodies, our with food and our self-worth. And when I was 5, I was bullied on the bus and I was called fat and ugly by all the older boys. And then the whole bus made fun of me. Or yeah, they all made fun of me. It was my first day on the bus. I was
Oh
5.
my gosh.
That was a moment that like hurt and ruined me for the next 20 years. I definitely held that as a trauma in my body. And then I took that identity on for the next 20 years. And then my mom and I had a very close relationship, but there were certain things we couldn't do together because she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis before I was born. And so using food as a way to compensate, I think out of guilt for some of those things we couldn't do
Mm,
together because her symptoms would flare up or she was very fatigued. So we did a lot of things around food, and there was always lots of sugar and processed food in the house. When I healed, I really started to realize that she had her own full blown food addiction that had not been addressed. And so part of that was the inheritance, not her fault, but understanding how
yeah.
these behaviors can be passed on through the lineage, right? And then in my early 20s, I had my first real breakup, could barely eat, was so heartbroken. I could barely eat, lost weight really quickly, loved all the attention, and that I finally reached my goal weight, right? Was exercising 2 hours a day, not eating enough. Don't suggest any of that. And I thought that it was going to fix everything because I'd been so programmed that weight loss makes you happy. And once you lose weight, everything in your life is perfect, which is such a lie
Such a lie.
and such a big program. And so when I realized nothing got better and now my period disappeared and I was even more arrogant and self-loathing, it didn't fix anything. And then it's like this switch flipped. And my first memorable binge was I'd gone to a barbecue, was like, I'm only going to eat the salad because that was my restrictive mentality. And I took an ice cream cake, had a piece of the ice cream cake, and it triggered this like, I messed up. That all or nothing, which I know we're going to talk a lot more about today. And then it was like, well, I'll have more ice cream cake and I'm going to have a burger. And I took the chocolate bar off the counter that was for the s'mores for everybody, went into the bathroom, ate the whole thing, and then left, got fast food on the way home. And then the next day woke up just like, oh my gosh, I need to go to the gym and like work out for however many hours to like get all this off. And that really birthed my cycle of binge eating and restriction and the all or nothing mentality. And then I gained like 80 pounds in 4 months and was to the point where I was like in such a deep shock of what is going on. I don't know why I'm doing this. And it was just such a dark, rough, emotional time of suffering. And my low point moment was when I had finished the food. I now knew I was binge eating, but I didn't know how to stop. Gone through a cycle of binging and purging for 6 months, thinking if I purge, I won't gain weight. And that just makes everything worse. And that is the full lack of ownership and responsibility when we're doing that. Um, anyway, so my low point was when I threw my food away, vowed I would never eat it out of the garbage, laying on the couch in tears, in so much pain, honestly worried if I'm going to make 30 because I was only 22 at the time.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was like that all or nothing kicked in. Well, if this is the last time you're going to do this, you might as well go pick the cookies out of the garbage. And then I did. And I went to my kitchen, I pulled out my little blue garbage in my apartment and I ate the cookies. And then I threw them in the dumpster outside and then I went and grabbed them out in the back alley in the dumpster. And then I was just like, this is a serious issue. I've been in such a denial that it wasn't a big deal. And in that moment, it was like my denial was crushed. And the suffering in that moment just got so big that I'm like, I'm literally eating out of my garbage. I'm like 80 pounds overweight. I'm broke. I have a crappy job. I'm alone. I have nothing that I want in my life. How did this get to be my life? Why is this happening? I have to figure this out. And the way I describe it as I embarked on my journey was really feeling like I was standing on the edge of the Amazon jungle with a butter knife. Like I literally had no idea what to do, what to start figuring out. I just knew that I had to figure it out because otherwise I probably wasn't going to be here in a few years if I kept up that level of destructive behavior with myself. And then I went on the healing journey, which is a whole other like level of healing conversation. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So at 22, you had the moment
Mm-hmm. Yep.
that you needed to heal. Okay, I feel like, wow. So many questions. Are you open? Are you an open
I'm an
book?
open book. I'll talk about any of it. Yep.
Okay. I can really, really relate to some of that. When I was like 12 or 13 at a summer camp, we had sliders. I know this is so ridiculous to say when you're a kid, right? When you're like reciting it back. We had sliders for dinner, so like like the little mini hamburgers.
Yeah.
And I put one on my plate, and then I got up to get another one. It was
Yeah.
like buffet style, and the entire camp started making fun of me for eating too much.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I remember like very much the feeling, and it has carried with me, and I've told that story a number of times now of like I immediately realized that other people were noticing choices I was making, and
Hmm.
it didn't matter the type of food, it was about how little or how much I should be eating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
To be accepted or whatever that is. So I can relate, you know, when you were a little kid and the bus did that to you. I felt
mhm.
that. And I actually am now I'm sitting here reflecting, going, my perfectionism in my 20s to be as lean and as strong as
Mhm.
possible, like where did that come from? So thank you for sharing that. I feel like you reflected my story back to me and we just had a little therapy session.
Yeah.
So, okay, you're 22, you have this moment where you're like, I might not be here if I keep this up. What
Mhm.
was your first step? You're standing on the edge of the Amazon jungle. You've got a butter knife. Not
Yeah.
going to do too much for you there, I think.
Yeah.
What was your first step into healing?
Yeah, so there was some physical healing awareness and some learning about the food industry that started to really open me up. So I first thing I actually started to learn about was refined sugar because I'm like, why is then when I start eating this, I literally can't stop and I feel like the whole world just like my eyes glaze over. I feel like I get this huge high, like what is going on? And so I started to learn that refined sugar is 10 times more addictive than cocaine and it excites the same part of the brain as a hard drug. And that was mind blowing. And then I'm like, why is this in all the food? And then it's like, oh, because the food industry did it on purpose. And all the people from the nicotine companies got hired to the food industry to make people addicted to food and make people sick because pharma and food are so in bed with each other. So that was a mind blowing, liberating moment because I'm like, it's not just me. I'm not crazy. The food has been designed on purpose to be addictive. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, yeah, so then I started to learn about wheat and dairy and that the gluten in the wheat and the casein in the dairy, the proteins, not only are they inflammatory, but they're also giving me a heroin high because I
Yeah.
eat a piece of cheese and then I can't stop. And part of that was the all or nothing, but part of it was I was so addicted to these
Sure.
foods. Um, and so I started to change the way that I ate, but I still wanted to binge on like a whole jar of organic peanut butter and 10 bananas or a whole container of brown rice pasta and goat cheese. And I'm like, there's a deeper level than just changing the way I'm eating her. And that's when I really went on to the emotional journey and got really honest with myself of like, I hate my body. I don't love myself. I have no ways of coping with stress in healthy ways. I'm still chasing the number on the scale, even though I know the weight loss didn't fix anything. And I have no idea what's triggering me to binge and emotional eat. So I really started to understand and identify my triggers because if we don't know what our emotional and binge eating triggers are, you're not going to be able to overcome it. You can band-aid all you want with quick fixes, but you're going to keep reverting back to the same self-sabotaging behaviors. So after I would be triggered, I would start writing down my triggers and reflecting on what it was going on. And I put up that list of triggers in every room in my apartment to remind me because every time I was triggered, I would go to the store, the organic store, to justify that it was a healthier choice. But I would buy a table full of food and eat until I was so full I was sick. Doesn't matter if it's
Wow.
organic at that point, it's the volume that's
Yeah.
just really hard on a person. And then I started learning different self care practices, meditation, tapping breath, journaling was one of my favorites. Epsom salt baths, nature, realizing that if I'm ungrounded and my energy is way out of my body, I want to binge. So
Yeah.
I was like, wow, if I'm ungrounded, I really want to self sabotage. So I had to learn how to get grounded. Um, and then I had to start reprogramming my brain because I was programmed into unworthiness. I'm not good enough. I don't look good enough. I'm not thin enough. So I had to start like affirming and tapping and all these different practices to help me start to feel familiar with liking myself and then it clicking into self-love and filling this void that I was trying to fill with food, which took a couple years, but it really did click. And so over that time, I was able to stop binge eating and emotionally eating. I was able to learn how to love myself. I was able to learn healthy ways to cope and take ultimate ownership and responsibility rather than blaming everyone else for why I would go to food or why I was upset. I'd be like, no, what? Yeah, that upset me, but why am I? I'm the one shoving the food in my mouth. Like, I got to own that. That's no one else's fault. And so I really had to take ownership and responsibility and stop being the victim, which to me, like we all have this, what I call the inner critic, the ego mind, which is the victim, the poor me. It's everyone else's fault, blaming everyone else. And it's not to shame this part of you, all have it, but it's the disempowered part of you that is going to keep you stuck in self sabotage.
Okay, I have to ask you because that is so important. We can get stuck in our healing journey saying, oh, but when I was a kid, this happened to me. And so now you can understand it. But if
Hmm.
you don't actually then change the behavior,
Yeah.
you're stuck still as that child or still stuck as that victim. Would you
Yeah.
agree?
100%. And so your ego inner critic is your wounded inner child. And I don't condone anyone who is a child or in any age in your life you've experienced trauma or you were abused or anything like that. It doesn't justify making it right or any of that, but it is going to the point of like that was completely out of my control and that happened. And now what do I want to do about my part? Because I can heal. I can learn to let it go to some extent. There's so much we can do to reprogram the mind, and the body and the self-talk, but we have to take ownership and responsibility and going, what am I doing with the wounding that I inherited? Because I can either let it define me and almost like ruin me or have such a negative impact on my life for the rest of my life, or I can learn to work through it, learn to heal with my inner child because every time that part of us gets hurt or wounded, whether we were a kid or it was you yesterday, you hold those wounds in your nervous system and in your brain. They're called neurotags. And then when you have a circumstance that comes up again, right, where you're in a similar environment or similar emotions, you can all of a sudden have a bigger reaction or anxiety or a panic attack because you're also reliving that memory of that old experience coming up. And so it can make things feel very heightened. And then, of course, it's like, I don't want to feel any of this. I'm going to just go numb out with food and shove it all down. Right. So I think it's so important to understand that as we heal and as we learn what triggers this inner critic that is also triggering our wounded inner child, we get to learn how to take our power back from our ego mind and realize living in your heart is truly your place of power, not in your mind where everything's so analytical. And that we also can baby step. This is all baby steps to the listeners. This is, taking your time to do your work. But as you heal your inner child and she feels loved and supported by you and safe, it will also help your inner critic calm down. And it's a
100%.
process, but it's all doable. It's like what do
100%.
you want? What kind of outcome do you want? Because you can create anything.
Oh, and that's such a powerful thing to say for sure. And, I think about that more and more and with the women that I serve, and that this topic is so important.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking very specifically about a few people and this, and not letting go. I don't want to say letting go as in dismiss.
Hmm.
That's different.
Yeah.
But letting go as in we don't need to have the crutch or excuse. And I don't mean that again, I don't mean that in a dismissive way. But like I remember going through my healing journey when I was, working through therapy with my therapist and
Yeah.
doing inner child work, there was a point where I was like, "Oh, now I understand myself better." But I'm
Yeah.
still kind of like sick of myself. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like I'm still kind
Hmm.
of like, "Okay, cool. This 10-year-old girl is really hurt about this thing, and I now understand why I react in certain situations. But like now I want to move forward from that.
Hmm.
And so what I mean by letting go is having a knowing, a self-trust that this 38-year-old woman is the one that's in control now. And I
Hmm.
know that I will make the good choices and the best choices, and I am safe. And that
Hmm.
means she is safe.
100%.
And it's like a knowing rather than every time I have to talk myself through it, every time I have to like make myself aware again of this little girl who is
Yeah.
the victim.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how you feel about that? I mean, maybe that sounds harsh, and maybe that's far beyond the point of where some women are still, but
Yeah.
you can get there to just
Yeah.
have a self-trust.
You can totally get there and it's going to be a different pace for everybody. So be patient with where on your journey. And even if you are still feeling like, I don't know if I can ever get there, like have compassion and grace for yourself and what you've been through. But part of it is a choice. How long do I want to identify with the past and hang on to the past and let it identify who I am in this moment? How long am I going to blame or shame or not take ownership or responsibility? How long am I going to let this, you know, label define me? That's why you never hear me say eating disorder, because that feels very heavy and dense and it feels very permanent. And I don't feel anyone is stuck with any of this for forever. You can fully heal and break free of it. So that's why I say emotional relationship with food, emotional eating, binge eating, because I find as soon as we like, oh, it's because of my eating disorder, it's because of this thing, it's because of this thing. And it's
Mm,
like, then we can use those things and like give our power away to that when it's like, actually, no, like I'm a powerful woman and there is healing. And if I'm struggling with something, it's not because anyone or anything is out to get me, including my own body. It's because my body and every aspect of my being wants me to master and get to this point of mastery mentally, physically, emotionally, energetically, and spiritually. In order for me to master, I have to be willing to work through and walk through. And I
yeah.
think that's what helps you heal. And like you said, you're 38. Like I trust, I call the shots, like I can decide. But what gets us to that point of trust and being willing to let go and not let the past define us is doing the work to feel safe enough and confident enough and enough self love for the present moment, right? To know that I'm worthy and I don't have to let that define me anymore. I have so much compassion for what I went through. I didn't want that to happen. I didn't ask for that to happen. I don't know why that happened, but I still get to claim my power and be my best self and work toward that. And so I think that we've just been so conditioned to like let it keep defining us and keep draining our energy. And it, no matter what you've gone through, it truly doesn't have to. It's a
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting our relationship with food. And it makes sense that it would be one that would be probably the biggest challenge because we can't live without it,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you're addicted to a drug, you give it up. And I'm not saying
Yeah.
that's easy, but like
No.
you don't need it to survive.
No.
So when it comes to food addiction, you have
Mm-hmm.
to manage it rather than live without.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't quit food, right? And so, and the thing is when I was struggling, I'm like, it's the food's fault. It's the food's fault that I have this addiction because the food is addictive. And yes, that's one component is certain foods are addictive and they're giving me this huge dopamine high like a drug. And then I lose control and can't stop eating them. And that is partially due to the food industry.
Sure.
However, there's the void, the lack of self love. There's this desire to numb, check out, and shove my emotion down because I'm afraid to feel or it feels too uncomfortable to feel. So I'm going to avoid feeling and looking at that. There's using food to procrastinate and avoid dealing with different circumstances, right? There is, using food to self sabotage because I got on the scale today and I ate clean and exercise this week and it should have gone down, but it went up or it didn't move. And now I'm pissed off. So screw it. I'm going to go eat whatever I want because that didn't work. And that's, we have to own all of those other pieces because that is, all the stuff that's been going on within us rather
Yeah.
than, oh, it's just the food. It's because the food's addicted. It's these food companies' faults. Well, yeah, that's part of it. But the rest is, well, why am I hating on myself if the scale hasn't moved? Well, that's a self-worth, body image, lack of self-love. So that's prompting me that maybe I want to work on that.
Yeah.
And maybe I need to learn that my worth is not in the number on the scale and it's a feeling I choose to feel in any moment that I'm good enough. Right. And yes, I can still desire to release weight and get to my natural set point, but that's not going to fix everything else. It's
Right.
not going to fix anything, in fact, pertaining to the way you emotionally react or respond to yourself in your life. Right.
Yeah.
So I think the thing is with emotional binge eating, it's so multifaceted and so complex that we haven't been properly taught or educated what it is, what the root causes are. And then we just end up in this cycle of feeling out of control. And then you're getting so hard on yourself because you don't have willpower and you're just not trying hard enough on your diet and all that's BS. And it's all the jargon that the diet and the weight loss industry tries to feed you, trying to make you feel like you're a broken soul, right? When they're a multi-trillion-dollar industry for a reason. They want you as a lifetime customer. So they're going to sell you all the quick fixes that don't work, that are going to break you down more mentally and emotionally and psychologically and convince you that you're the problem because you can't just stick to this thing and it's you. When really they have created a huge problem with the way they program women into body dysmorphia, diet and food rules, food fears, needing to be perfect. Like a lot of women's perfection, all or nothing mentalities with food. Part of it can be your upbringing and like if your parents are like, oh, B plus, that's okay, but A plus would be better. And you had to like go into proving imperfection because of that. But the diet industry and weight loss and fitness industries, and they fuel the perfection all or nothing mentality because they're like, you have to be all in for this to work.
Yes.
No balance. So of course, women are going to be in extreme or perfectionist mentalities with their relationship with food and body because it's what's been programmed into you.
Yes. And it's so funny that you say that. It's when it comes to vanity, ego mind takes over.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
And so what I see a lot of when we're trying to, and using the word reprogram, but ultimately it's like reteach in my world with my ladies who often are looking for weight loss. Um, it's like trying to reprogram, reteach, and they often have this conflict of falling back into the all or nothing mindset or what they believed at one point to be the thing that worked, even though it's proved to them over and over and over and over again that it
Hmm.
hasn't worked.
Yeah.
But like trusting this new thing, and I don't mean new as in new and trendy and fad,
Yeah.
just like a new approach that comes with self-love and
Yeah.
self-respect and, not, uh, you know, killing yourself into submission,
Hmm.
rather loving yourself through the process and getting to where you want to be because you respect yourself.
Yeah. But this
Uh,
is, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, the way it's like that one trigger. The scale didn't move.
Yep.
And all of a sudden they're back in that all or nothing mindset.
Mhm. Yeah, but that's because we've been conditioned to place our worth in the number on the scale and give it so much emphasis. Look at movies and the emphasis on weight and the girl being bullied if she gains weight. The arrogance of, I just remember the movie Mean Girls, where they go to the store and Regina goes to try her dress on and she gained weight because they're giving her those bars and it didn't fit. And then they're like, "Do you have the next size up?" And the arrogant salesperson's like, "No, we only sell sizes 1, 3, and 5, but you can try Sears." So there's like this arrogant edge that's subliminally programmed into movies that we get programmed with that is like, oh, well, I'm better than everyone else if I lose weight and I look a certain way. That vanity, I wear certain clothes, I wear a certain size. Like that's been programmed into us by Hollywood and the media. And it's like pretty obvious at this point, right?
Yeah.
So growing up watching these movies, idolizing celebrities, which I'm so detached from all of that now, but it's like no wonder I have had this relationship with my body, right? And then we're told in like even like basic health class in grade 6, you exercise and you cut calories to lose weight, right? The other issue is we're programmed from age 0 to 7 that we're not good enough, that we're
Mm.
not lovable, we're not worthy, and that you have to have a certain external image and lifestyle to be loved, accepted, all the stuff, right? So women don't trust themselves. We don't learn how to trust our bodies. We don't learn how to talk to our bodies and listen to our bodies and ask questions and go like, why are you feeling like this? Why are you hanging on to weight and you don't feel safe? Why am I triggered to binge and emotionally eat? We're not stopping to ask those questions because it's continuing to be drilled into our minds. The next diet, the next fad, the next quick fix, do Ozempic, do this thing, do this weird space food diet. Like it's the thing that's going to give you the results. And so all of this external quick fix keeps us out of attunement, out of building
Mm-mm.
trust, completely unaware of what we actually need. It's a big distraction. They want you distracted. If you heal, you're no longer a lifetime customer and you're no longer making them a lot of money. You are in your power, you love yourself. You are a sovereign, you know, powerful woman who's going to like create the life that she wants.
Hey, if you're loving this episode and want more support around sustainable, healthy weight loss without shame and without losing yourself in another toxic plan, come hang out with me on Instagram. I share everything I wish women knew about metabolism, minerals, hormones, and healing your relationship with food without giving up your desire to feel amazing in your own skin. While you're there, DM me the word Kickstart and I'll personally send you my free Metabolism Kickstart guide. It's packed with tools to help you build energy, reset cravings, and finally feel in control again. And here's the truth. You are a powerful woman who's going to create the life you want. And self-love and wanting to look and feel incredible in your body, those are not mutually exclusive. Discipline isn't punishment, it is the ultimate act of self love. And you can have both a healthy relationship with food and self, and the energy, confidence, and strength to feel unstoppable. So hit pause right now, go over to at Michelle Scarlett _ on Instagram and send me that DM.
You don't make these big companies any money if you're in your power. So I think that's a big part of it is we're taught to not trust ourselves, trust the scale, trust
Right.
needing to use a calorie counting app, trust needing to weigh and measure your food. That is the way when those are the things that are keeping you distracted and disconnected from doing the inner work, understanding what's triggering you, understanding why you don't love yourself, right? That's the way it's been designed in my opinion. And hopefully that is a good loving motivator for you to go, I'm done with that, like I want something else. But the problem, I think this is really important, when I learned about the brain, the reason why women will like get on the scale and be like, it didn't change, like screw this, I'm going back to the thing, even though we know it doesn't work, is because we have a part of the brain called the amygdala. It is the fight or flight stress center of the brain, and it's scanning for threat all the time, and it senses discomfort as a threat to your survival. And it will want you to keep reverting back to what's familiar and comfortable, even if that is hurting you or having a negative impact on any aspect of you or your health and well being. So, part of it is your brain is like, revert back. You're in a stress response. You just got on the scale. You don't like the number you see. Revert back. Go into the screw up mentality. Go binge or like go restrict again and try some other diet, right? And then we also get familiar and safe in our comfort zones, even if we're suffering. And that's why I needed that low point moment because I was just in this comfort zone of suffering. It's not a big deal. Food is my friend. Who would I be if I don't use it? That's all scary to think about, the unknown. What if I try to deal with it and I fail? it's not that big of a deal when really it's like having a negative impact on everything. So part of it is we need to understand the way the brain is operating and we need to be willing to go into discomfort. I'm
Yeah.
safe. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but there's no bear getting ready to attack me right now. And we need to differentiate between safety and discomfort. I am safe, but this is going to have uncomfortable moments. But in order for me to get where I want to go on my healing and claim my power and the trust and the self love, I'm going to have to get uncomfortable. I cannot avoid the discomfort. And when we can normalize discomfort is okay, and you cannot have growth in a comfort zone, and there's no growth in a comfort zone, and we can like get more excited about all the opportunity and possibility that's going to come from that, there will be a lot more healing that continues to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, really leaning into that discomfort is healing in itself. I always
Mm.
use the um, metaphor of like it's building another muscle.
Yeah.
So you're not retreating all the time. That fight or flight, that going back to what's familiar, regardless of if it's hurting you, is exactly how you would talk about an abusive relationship,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's a couple or a child and a parent, um, going back to that chaos, if that's your familiar,
Yeah.
that's what your amygdala feels is safe.
Yeah. And that's the thing is we're so tolerant of being in an abusive relationship with ourselves because we don't have to deal with the consequence of someone else leaving. It's like I always say to
Right.
my clients, like, would you ever treat anyone else around you like this? Would you treat your child like this, your dog, your husband? And they're like, no. I'm like,
Right.
okay, so why are you being so tolerant? And a big part of it is all the wounding. It is this very negative inner critic ego voice that is never going to cheer you on. It's never going to be like, get uncomfortable, go heal your relationship with food, love yourself. It's going to just keep belittling you and keep telling you you're not good enough and you're not pretty enough and you're not thin enough and be in lack, be in fear, be in worry. That's never going to work. Don't go and change. Like, you're going to be like this forever. You don't deserve to change. You don't have the luck that Michelle and I are talking about on this podcast. They're lucky that they are where they are and they got to heal. And it's like, it's not luck at all. It's, are you
It's
letting that,
work.
it's work and it's, are you aware of that inner critic ego voice and are you still letting it run the show or are you going to take steps to take your power back? Right. And be patient because it takes time. You've had years, decades of programming, the same habits, behaviors, beliefs, ways of coping. It's going to take time to change it, but you can fully heal and break free, right? We're not here to manage binge eating and, oh, good, you got it to once a week. Oh, you're good now. No, fully breaking free. My clients fully heal this.
Yeah. Okay, so how? Tell us how you work
Yeah.
with your clients. Tell us, so we've gotten into the real deep
Yeah.
rooted stuff of it, but then if somebody's listening to this and they're like, "Okay, I am bought in. Yes, that's me. How do I move forward?"
Yeah. So, something you can start building awareness with yourself first. Actually, before that, even gift yourself grace and compassion. This is not your fault.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be in shame or embarrassment by this. This does not have to be your dirty little secret. Compassion and grace. Next, it's to actually start asking the question, what is triggering me? Why am I doing this? You'll probably start to have some ideas like pop into your mind right away. Oh, overwhelm triggers me, boredom, loneliness. When I get on the scale and I don't like what I see, start a list because it's going to help you start to build awareness, which is really the first step in starting to address any of these behaviors. Another question you can start asking yourself before you go to food is this physical or emotional hunger? Now, physical hunger is going to be like you look at the clock, you haven't eaten in a few hours, your blood sugar has crashed, which is probably waited a little too long, right? You're dizzy, faint, lightheaded, shaky, moody, hangry. You get a hunger signal or your stomach growls. A lot of women don't get hungry because their hormones are out of whack and they don't have
Yes.
enough stomach acid and they've suppressed their metabolisms through all the diet and restrictions. So, in that case, we want to make sure we do hormone testing and see what's going on and get your hunger signal back. So, there's other things that could be going on there, but everything else is emotional. And what women often start to see when I'm working with them is, wow, I'm rarely ever actually needing the food when I'm like triggered. It is emotional hunger, right? And then
Mm.
there are physical emotional eating triggers like hormone imbalances, gut issues, blood sugar issues. There's energetic emotional eating triggers like you're a sensitive empath and you feel everything. You feel the collective. You're like the world right now. Or you're like, wow, I just hung out with a friend and she vented everything to me. And now I'm feeling all of her sadness and grief and anger. And that's uncomfortable. And I don't want to feel it. So I'm going to eat. So you don't have good energetic boundaries. We need to teach you that. Right. So there's all kinds of different triggers. There's chemical, your dopamine's low and that triggers you more. There's not getting enough sleep. You're dehydrated, right? There's so many potential things that could be triggering you. But first, starting with that question of is this physical versus emotional hunger and starting to decipher the difference, I think is really important. And if you're like, I'm already doing that, I'm still triggered, honestly, the best thing, and I'm sure you say this all the time as well, at this point, if you've been struggling with this for years or decades and you're yo-yoing back and forth between restriction, right, and overeating or binge or emotional eating, get support. This is
Hmm.
multifaceted. There is so much going on here that you don't know about. And I'm not saying that to say that you're not educated. You can have a great education and knowledge in nutrition and health. But if you're still dealing with anything, struggling with anything, you don't have all the information, and that is okay. And your body and you are continuing to put you into these cycles because your body wants you to master and fully heal. And there's more
Yes.
for you to learn. That's the only reason this is still happening. Your emotional eating triggers are trying to show you where you're out of alignment so that you can heal those things and come into an alignment that you haven't been in for a long time or if ever.
Right.
So I think that's a really big part of things you can start to look at. But I think just so many women I work with have been struggling for years or decades, and it's getting support that's the catalyst that actually helps them to get where they want to go. And we baby step along, and it's a journey. Right. And I do think we do have to deal with. So, the other thing that's, I think, really important that we need to start working on is healing food fears, acknowledging our food fears, our diet and food rules that we've inherited, and starting to understand why am I so asphyxiated with the number on the scale? Why does that
Mhm.
matter so much to me? Where did I inherit this need to be a certain number? And what have I made that mean about myself? So there's some good journal prompts. And these are things I also explore with my clients. Weight gain. It's like triggers, emotional eating triggers. We have weight loss blocks. Your body hangs on to weight because she doesn't feel safe. So we need to get curious. Why? What's going on physically, emotionally, energetically, environmentally, right? That is contributing to your body being so dysregulated that she's just putting it on. So there's so
Yeah.
much to explore.
Interesting. So I know that, the topic is binge eating, restriction, food addiction, but like for me, I would not necessarily and personally relate to those terms in my own life, but I do relate in a sense that if it's been a stressful day, if I've had a fight with my mother, if, my son has been making me crazy for 24 hours or, like whatever that looks like, I definitely can feel the pull
Hmm.
to food that makes you feel better.
Totally.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I wouldn't like in my head, I wouldn't identify that as an addiction or a binge eating or any kind of disordered eating. But because I wouldn't say that I would ever go overboard, and I'm not judging. I'm just trying to, tell
Hmm.
you my story. Um, but even for people who wouldn't identify that way, food can very much still be emotional. Food
100%.
choices.
And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you're just eating a few pieces of chocolate or you're eating a whole bag of chips. If you're using food to cope, you are in an unhealthy relationship with food.
Yes.
Period. Because you're chasing a quick dopamine high. So the brain produces dopamine in high levels when we anticipate going to the food to give us relief and reward feeling. And then when we take the first few bites. And it's very easy to get into the cycle because food gives us that dopamine high so quickly and so easily, and food is everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And especially if we have stress and there's a lot of things going on and you have several different things on your plate, it just seems like the easiest thing. You're like, it's been such a busy day. This is going to give me relief the quickest, right?
Yes.
And it can be small amounts, but it's still impacting every aspect of your being. And if we get really energetic and spiritual, when we self sabotage with food, like we're hurting our bodies, we're lowering our frequency. Then you feel guilt and shame and frustration. You're going to some of the lowest vibration emotions you can feel. And that is going to impact your body's ability to heal physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically. And then we can end up in other negative behaviors. Like I would binge and then I'd like online shop and then I'd text like an ex boyfriend that I knew was unhealthy for me. And like, it was just all these low vibration behaviors because now I'm there and now I'm like, well, what else can I do to like feel dopamine and get attention and validation? And it just kept these cycles going. And yeah, some women just have minor emotional eating. And then it's like if you start and you can't stop, then there's the binge eating. And food addiction
Right.
is the full blown asphyxiation. I'm either obsessed thinking about food and the control and counting diets, calories, what eating style am I going to try next? Or I'm asphyxiating and thinking about obsessing about my next binge, my next overeating. And I am pretty much like 99% of the time just thinking about food, my body, weight, numbers, and like it's consumed your mind, right? So there's different levels of it. But even if it's minimal, we want to get, in my opinion, to the roots so that it's
Yeah.
not something anymore. And then your neurotransmitters like your dopamine and your serotonin, which is your calming hormone, everything helps your mood stabilize. And then even if you have high stress and, whatever's going on is driving you crazy, it's like these are the things. I need to find my breath. I need to get outside for 5 minutes. I need to go scream into my pillow and beat it up and do some sacred rage and like let this stuff out. I need to
Yes.
set a boundary. I need to say no. I need to ask for help. I need to open up some time in my schedule because I'm overbooked, right? It is that ultimate ownership and responsibility. And it takes time to get there, right? But I can successfully say, being someone that used to eat it in my garbage can, fast forward 15 years, like I haven't binged or emotionally ate in like 14 years. I have no desire to. I know no matter what comes up, I can get through it and use my tools and my support. And I'm not alone in the circumstance. And there's a love there that once you create it, it'd be so forceful to try and go back. Like, I can't
Right.
imagine what would ever make me get back into that again.
Oh, I mean, I would never hope that for you or for anybody, but yeah,
Yeah, no. But it's like
absolutely.
you really do like have this like energetic and emotional death and rebirth, and it's like the new you like really is just like I love myself. I would never do that to myself.
Yeah. So, okay, then how do you, and I'll ask you personally if you can share.
Hmm.
Um, it's been 14 years since you have binge eat. You feel perfectly happy with your balanced life, like, all the things you just said. If you were to go to the movies and you were like, I want to enjoy some popcorn, would you?
Yeah, so we don't go to the movies anymore. To be honest, we don't
Okay.
watch movies, but I hear you. If there was an event, so here's the thing. So there, I will indulge. I believe in the healthy balance. I nourish my body most of the time and make amazing food that I love. And you get to still love food,
Yes,
and
of
food's
course.
still going to bring you joy, and your body's still going to produce dopamine because it's delicious and nourishing and it looks beautiful and it's appealing. And we're supposed to have pleasure with food. But there's a
Sure.
difference between loving pleasure versus self sabotage. And then I do indulge. Like, my dad and his girlfriend are coming down next week and we're going to go for a beautiful dinner in the mountains. And of course, we're going to have dessert and we're going to have this and that, right? So it's like there is that balance. And that to me is a healthy relationship with food where I want to be optimal and healthy, and then there is the opportunity to have that indulgence, right? There's certain things I refuse to eat, like
Sure.
ultra processed food. I don't want to give my money to big companies that are corrupt, period. So there's
Sure.
just certain things I'm not going to give my money to. But yeah, indulgence is part of that, right?
And it's funny that we use the word indulgence, or you just use the word indulgence. I think of indulgence, just the word, as a negative.
Mm,
But I agree with you that, like, I feel like I'm on the same wavelength. Like, I live this incredibly clean lifestyle. It's very pure. I don't, from my environment to the food that I put in my
mm.
body. Um, but I use the word enjoy.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
that I don't enjoy my, homemade
Yeah.
food that nourishes my body. I very much do. But like my husband and I decided we were going to go for brunch today.
Nice.
And so it's not necessarily just about the food that I choose. I usually choose to, you know, do the best I can on a menu that I don't have control over.
Yeah.
But it's about me sitting with my husband, having time to
Yeah.
connect, like enjoying the habitual social thing as well,
Yes.
without guilt, without shame, knowing that it's maybe not what I would choose in my own home,
Hmm.
but like it not spiraling my mind that it
Yeah.
has thrown me so off track that I
Hmm.
can't come back from it. So I may as well just go down this, self-sabotage for a week.
Totally. And it is about enjoying the environment and the company and the ambience just as much as the food and not having the food be such a focus.
Yeah.
And when you went for brunch this morning, you probably had an amazing experience, right? And that's how you know you've healed all or nothing because you're like, this meal and this interaction is amazing right now. And then once it's complete, I'm going to move on with the next part of my day. And there's nothing else for me to feel about it. There's
Yeah.
no need for guilt or shame or to be like, screw it, I messed up. Now I'm going to go eat whatever I want. But the reason we'll go back into all or nothing is because we literally wire a pattern in the brain or a neural pathway that is like, I mess up or I indulge or I have a cheat meal or whatever people treat, whatever all the words are people use. And as soon as they start doing that, that pathway lights up in the brain and goes, this is bad. You should react. Like, now I'm going to react. And now, screw it, I messed up. Like, it's so extreme. It's so all or nothing, so black and white. So, we have to, over time, dissolve that pathway and establish this sense of balance of like, this is safe. It is safe for me to enjoy. I like that, right? I can eat it slowly and enjoy this experience. And then I can move on with my day and everything's okay.
Yes.
Body's not going to rebel and gain 10 pounds because I ate this. And if you
Yes.
retain a lot of water afterward or you're puffy, well, then there's all kinds of other things we need to have a conversation about, right? But the more you can relax with your experiences with food, the better your body's going to receive it all, right? And it's just part of the experience. So the more we can open the view up of food as just part of the experience, the whole experience you're having in that moment, you take everything else in around you as well.
Yes. And then the charge, that emotional charge about food lessens or
Exactly.
doesn't exist.
Yeah, and then you're detached from food. You still love it. Like I love food, but I'm so detached.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, yeah, later when we have dinner, that'll be nice, but like right now I'm focusing on this podcast and like my next
Yeah.
thing thereafter and like it's hard to describe until you experience it for yourself, but your mind is free of the food battle and the chatter and all of it. And it's just you think about it when you go to make something or you look forward to a meal, but then it's like back to the present moment. What's going on right now? This is awesome,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very freeing to clear all that out of your mind.
Is it worth, I know you said it just briefly, tapping, breath work, meditation, etc., something that has worked for me in times of discomfort, not just speaking about food, just times of discomfort.
Hmm.
I have strengthened that muscle to lean in a lot, so I feel very lucky for that. But if there are times where I'm so uncomfortable, I literally just talk to myself.
Hmm.
Like I literally am just, and I say the things like, I'm safe doing this.
Hmm.
I am safe here. This is a safe place for me.
Yeah.
Um, if somebody can't, or I mean, I like tapping, but I've been told it's weird. And it is a bit weird, right? Like if you're in the grocery store, like are you going to be sitting here like, you know what I mean? It can be a self-conscious thing. So what I'm saying is, can just talking to yourself,
Yeah, 100%. And find your breath because you can breathe in any moment as well,
it
right?
doesn't need to
So,
be what you imagine people looking at you doing,
yeah. And like, stop worrying so much about what other people think, honestly,
for sure.
right? But I agree. Like, yeah, are you going to be in the grocery store tapping? Well, you might be if you don't care and you're just like, that's the thing that's most effective for me. But yeah, start talking to yourself, find your voice, find your breath, right? And depending on the circumstance and environment you're in, different things are going to benefit you. I have clients who will be in a social setting and will excuse themselves to the bathroom to go check in, to tap, to breathe,
Yeah.
to do whatever they need to do. So part of it is what can I utilize in this moment and what can I do? And I find the tapping, the breath, the meditation, all those things, these are things I built into my daily self-care practice to help me get more grounded so if I
Hmm.
was triggered or something did come up, I'd have more capacity to deal with it. But yeah, I think there's different methods depending where we are that we can use. And the self reassurance is one of the most loving things we can do for ourselves because we've got to have our own back,
100%.
right?
100%.
Yeah.
Incredible. Where can people go to work with you or talk to you more about this?
Yeah. So if you want to dive deeper into the journey of emotional and binge eating and beyond, You can check out the podcast. It's called the No Sugarcoating Podcast. It's available everywhere. And then the website is amberapproved.ca. I do have a free emotional eating quiz if you're wondering if you're struggling, that will loop you into some podcasts about it. And then if you want to talk about going on the journey to food and body freedom, I offer a 30-minute consultation. It is complimentary, and that's also on the website. And then I'm on social, also Instagram, YouTube a little bit, and it's Amber Romaniuk, Romaniuk.
Amazing. I'll make that is in the show notes, and I will definitely be sending this episode to all of my clients personally. Them and a little bit of reflection. So thank you for coming on today. I really enjoyed that conversation.
Thank you for having me, and amazing questions. Honestly, it's so good. Thank you for the work you're doing.
If this conversation stirred something up in you, if you feel even a little more clear, more curious, or more inspired, share it. Send it to a friend who's been quietly wondering if the way she feels is just how it is now, and tag me on Instagram or LinkedIn at @MichelleScarlett_. I truly love hearing what lands for you. And if something came up during this episode, a question, a symptom, a story, email me directly at michelle@michellescarlett.com. I personally read every message, and I'll help you get clear on what you're dealing with and what to do next. You don't have to settle. You don't have to figure it out alone. This is your space to take your health, your life, and your success back into your hands.